Hi, and thank you for purchasing one of our Zone Station 2 kits. So when you get your kit, you'll be supplied with a touch panel, a control box, a power supply, and a blue cable. So let's go through and show you what you get. In the touch panel, you get the touch panel which goes on the wall, which is what you're able to control the zones with. Also, in that same box, you get a set of badged or pre-named stickers that you'll stick on to the zones to identify what the zone is. You also get the control box, which is what controls the system, and the manual that goes with that. The power supply, which just plugs into a normal 240 volt power point. And then we get a blue cable or Cat5 cable that runs between the touch panel and the control box. What do we need to use to be able to do the installation? We're going to need to be able to drill a hole in the wall. So we're going to need to drill a hole to be able to mount your touch panel onto the wall. You're going to need some screws to be able to screw it into your plaster or into the wall, or whatever, however you want to fix it. Obviously, we're going to need a drill to be able to do so with. You'll end up, depending on how many zones you are, you'll either have a zone box or you'll have an inline zone that we'll be able to mount into the ductwork. Now, videos for how to install the zone motors and the inline zones are on our YouTube page. For more information, please go to that page, those videos to watch those. The inline zones can come with many different size necks, depending on what size your ductwork is. So you just let us know what size your duct is and we'll supply the correct neck to suit the size of your duct. Let's go about showing how do we go about installing a wall controller onto your wall. So first of all, you're going to need to drill a hole down so that you can, and then drill a hole through your wall. So always recommend when you're drilling the hole through the wall that you make the drill is big enough so that this plug in the back is able to easily push into the wall. Otherwise, it just makes it a bit difficult for you. So we'll run the cable down the wall and you'll pull it out through the wall. So then we take the backing plate, we're going to mount this onto the wall just with 2 fixing screws. Use the appropriate screws depending on the backing of the wall that you are fixing it to. This case is just in the chipboard, so I can give out chipboard screws. If you're using it onto plaster, you might want to use wall mates or something that's more appropriate. So you have your cable coming through the wall. So all we're doing is we're pushing the RJ45 connection into the back of the wall socket, and we just make sure it clicks when you put it in. And then putting it onto the top first and pushing it onto the bottom. So that's now the wall controller mounted on the wall. So this example, I've set up one for, this example might be a downstairs thermostat for the unit, and then you've got a mirrored controller downstairs. So this might be upstairs, downstairs scenario. So you're able to control the zones on or off anywhere in the home, upstairs or downstairs. The control box you generally mount on the roof. You might mount it on top of the indoor unit. I like to mount it on a board so it's up out of the way where you can make all the cables nice and neat and tidy. So you're going to run your cable from your touch panel back so there's 2 slots, there's a primary and secondary slot for your touch panel. Again, we just click those in. Zone cable supplied as well, that comes with the inline zone boxes. We take the cable, and a little trick I have is, you'll see that there's an outside part to it and an inside part. I just pull the inside part of the cable out, we run it back. We want to make sure we run it neatly so it's not going to be damaged by anybody crawling through the roof. I like to run it along the top of the ductwork. Sometimes just put a little bit of tape just so it doesn't fall off. And we plug it into the zone motor and we just pull the cable out to get enough length so we can run it back to the control box and then clicking it in. So once we've got all the cables now clipped in, all the cables are neatly run so they're not going to be affected by anybody crawling through the roof. We've got touch panels on, so forth. So we've selected the number of zones for the active zones to be 4, which is just pushing down the dip switch for 4 only, not any other of the dip switches. Only the 4th, if you've got 4 zones, only the 4th tab goes down. Then down the bottom here, we've got a number of program constant zones. So if you've got a zone motor on every duct of the home, then we need to make sure that we set a constant. If a constant's not set, then the problem you're going to have is you have the potential to turn off every duct in the home, which is going to cause damage either to the ductwork or to the unit. So if you have a zone, a number of outlets that are not zoned, then you can get away with not putting on a program constant. But if they are all zoned, all outlets are zoned, and you have the potential to turn every outlet off, then we need to set at least 1 zone, sometimes maybe 2, depending on the size of the unit. If you have any questions, please give us a call. We're happy to talk you through what is needed and support you with that technical support. Now, once we've got all these things set up, we're good to turn on the power. So we take our power supply that's plugged into a power point, and then we're just plugging this in. As you can see here, I've set it up with 4 zones, and notice that there's only 4 lights illuminated. If I set it, for example, 3 or 6, you would have 3 or 6 lights illuminated when you first turn it on as it drives the zone motors open. As we go through and turn off the zones, you will see that the lights go off on both screens. So it's a mirrored scenario, so we know that you can see both upstairs or downstairs or on both panels what the current status of the on or off status is. So green means on, no light means off. So if you go through and we turn off too many zones, what I've set up is it will automatically maintain 1 constant. So the first zone is designated the first constant, the second zone is designated the second constant. So it's always going to make sure the protection of the ductwork in the system by having constants set in. So really simple to use, really simple to install, and from here you can just turn on and off the zones, controlling exactly where you want to put air into the home, making your heating and cooling system more efficient because you're not needing to heat or cool the entire home.
Thank you for watching. We invite you to follow us and also check out our online stores.